Good evening.
Hi.
Eva, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to be here having this conversation with you. So thank you for being here tonight. Let's get into this talk because I know these people want to hear from you. Obviously, you've had a very successful career in Hollywood. I want to talk about just how you've been able to do that and just be true to who you are. We talk a lot now about representation and bringing our full selves to work, but listen, I know that is not always easy for women, for people of color. So has that always been important to you, and how has that been a challenge for you in this industry?
What? Being myself? Oh. it's a challenge for my husband. No, I think that's why I'm successful, right? Because I am true to myself. But you know, when I came to Hollywood 100 years ago, I remember, you know, I'm from Texas. I'm a Texican, and whoop whoop,
Texas in the building.
Texicans
okay.
in the house, and I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, and I don't have an accent, and I came out to Hollywood and I would audition for Latin roles, and they were like, "Could you do it with an accent?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." And they were like Rosie Perez, like it was like Rosie.
Wow.
It was and I was like, Rosie Perez is a very specific dialect.
Exactly. Not from the Bronx.
I'm not from the Bronx.
Not from the Bronx, right?
And then I would go out for white roles, and they were like, "Oh, you're Latin," and I was like, "Right, but I mean, I can play this," and so I wouldn't get either. So I played a lot of Italians.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like Longoria. I was like, yeah.
You had that accent too,
Yeah.
if necessary.
I'm Italian. Does that get me the job? And so I straddle the hyphen of being Mexican American. I always hate when people go, "Oh, so you're half and half," and I go, "No, I'm 100% Mexican and 100% American at the same time." And so there was, back then there was nothing like that. On TV that I could, really go like, "Oh, I want that career or that." So,
Yeah.
It was like I had to be true to myself because I had to end up creating, pathway forward, and that's why I started directing 12 years ago and producing because I was like, no, 15 years ago, and I was like, okay, I can't wait for a job, and I think right now we're in a great opportunity. There's a great opportunity for storytellers to take the reins of your own career, whether you're a writer or director or an actor, because there are so many outlets for these stories to be told. Social media being one of them. How many famous social media stars, are now in movies, and you're like, wow, how did that? You can reverse engineer your career. I remember watching something, and I was like on the TikTok, and is that what it is?
So young and hip.
Yeah, it's the TikTok.
The TikTok.
And I just thought that girl's a good writer, right? Like I was like, she would be a great writer. We gotta put her on a show. We gotta figure out. Like she probably has never written before, but she writes every day because she writes her own little skits, and it's really funny. And so I think right now is a lot easier. You guys are in a time where it's a lot easier to do it. We were in a time where it wasn't quite so easy. It was like auditioning and waiting for that role because those doors weren't open to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. The TikTok and et cetera have created a lot of those opportunities
Yeah.
or allowed people to create those opportunities for themselves. Well, listen, you started kind of talking about just how you have seen the evolution of Latinx stories being told and what you kind of remember in terms of where you were or weren't able to find representation when you were growing up and when you were growing up in this industry. Talk just about what the impact that representation or lack of representation has on a community's sense of self and identity, and what happens when that representation is missing.
Well, I will tell you, I directed a film this year.
Oh yeah, maybe you've heard of it. What film was that?
But I mean, I can talk about it because I directed it.
That's right. And we will.
But my point being, we got a screening at the White House, and it was the first time that they did a screening out on the lawn. And I remember when they told me, they're like, President Biden's going to introduce your film. They're going to show it, and 1,000 Latinos are invited to sit on the lawn. Wow. They had a picnic. There was Casa del Sol. There was like, it was beautiful, but I was in tears, and there's people here who were there to see the audience and all these Latinos feel seen, and they're just crying, looking at this screen going, that's me, that's my story, that's my mom, that's my tia, that, like, they're crying and they were laughing and like they felt seen. That I will be forever grateful for that impact that we made to be able to share that movie with this community, which Linda Yvette Chavez wrote. And did a beautiful job, and so it was like, you know, she was there, her mother was there, and it was a surreal. We were floating for a month after that because we saw like just their faces, just looking up at these screens, and they're crying and they're laughing. It was beautiful. So that impact, like, that's important. What we're gonna do, you know, any creator here, what you're gonna do is gonna make a difference in transforming this world. Like, we really believe the best stories haven't been told yet. And you guys are gonna tell them. We're gonna tell them.
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely, 1,000%. I will say that Flamin' Hot was definitely one of my absolute favorite movies this year, so thank you. Thank you for that story. I wanna ask you just about what drew you to that story, and really, for people who don't understand why it is not just a Latinx story, it is an American dream story. And that was really what you were able to capture and what makes that story universal while at the same time so culturally relevant.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the jackpot of all stories for me. As a Chicana, I was like, I am Richard Montañez.
Yes.
Like, I've been told no. I've been told, whoa, hey, that opportunity isn't for somebody who looks like you. Oh, you're a woman, you probably shouldn't do that job. And he was told no his whole life. Like, you know, ideas don't come from people like you, because he was a janitor. And he goes, but why not? Why not me? And he really believed in himself, and he was like, I know my ideas can transform into something bigger, like they're not just in my head. And so I felt like, I was like, oh my God, I am Richard Montañez. You are Richard Montañez. We're all Richard Montañez at one moment in our lives. And so it was that drew me to the project. And the fact that it was you know, a very universal story,
Yes.
right? Like bootstraps, underdog. There was like thematically, you know, you're rooting for him. But I really wanted to explore what happens when opportunity is not distributed equally, right? Like, everybody has talent, but doesn't mean you get the opportunity to use that talent. And so that's what I wanted to explore in the movie, was like showing people, you know, you should tap into a different talent pool sometimes. You'll be surprised what you get. And specifically with this industry, you know, my goal has always been to create a pipeline of talent. Like the girls were talking about earlier, is like, I remember with Flaming Hot, I've been directing for 10 years, and I had to fight for this job.
Yes.
Right? And they were like, well, you haven't done a movie. And I said, I haven't done it till I've done it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think, I remember the first time I directed, Nina Liederman, who was president of Lifetime at the time, she said, hey, you should direct one of these episodes. And I go, yeah. And the minute the yes came out of my mouth, I was like, why did you say that? And I was trying to pull it back in, like, why did I say yes? I'm not ready. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know enough. What if I'm not good? What if, you know, all of that, like, doubt in myself, where, you know, I needed her to believe in me in order to push myself forward to do it. And then discovering, oh, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
And owning that and being okay with that. And so I remember going into the room of Flaming Hot with all of this experience of touching every rung of the ladder in directing, everything. You know, half hour, you know, 1 hour drama, comedy, small pilots, big pilot. I had done it all, and they were still like, I don't know, you know. And so we will always have to prove our worth. But that's the position I love to be in. Like, I love to have to prove myself. I'm like, go ahead, doubt me. Go ahead, underestimate me, because I will prove you wrong. I have no problem outworking and out hustling anybody in the room. And that's what we have to do. We're gonna have to do that, and specifically as women.
Yes.
And you can't have the mentality of like, it's not fair. It's not fucking fair. It's never gonna be fair.
Never gonna be fair.
And by the way, that's in all industries. You think there's inequality just in the media? It's everywhere, on boards everywhere, in corporate America, in anywhere you go, it's unfair. So you got to suck that up and go, yep, I'm going to have to work twice as hard, twice as good, twice as fast, twice as cheap, until you prove yourself. Like, and I don't have a problem with that, because I love going, go ahead, doubt me. I'm gonna show up and do it. And that was the spirit on the film. Was, you know, every single department head, from the DP to the costume designer, Linda, we were like, we got to get this right. We got to get this right. We got to not only to get it right, but we got to, it's got to be successful. So once we did make it, it was like, okay, how do we make sure people see it?
Yes.
Okay, now it's like a never-ending step of struggling for that. So I don't know what the question was, but that's my answer.
That works. That works as an answer. But listen, to your point, I mean, you know what it means to, you know, to be able to do that. For as much as yes, you have to work to prove yourself, and no, it's not fair, but it's worth it, because you get to change this country's imagination again about who gets to be a star, right? Who gets to be an American worker? Who gets to have opportunity?
Well, and also, you know, Hollywood defines what heroes look like.
Yes, who gets to be the hero?
And I was like, that's what also attracted me to Richard's story was they never look like us. They never look like us. And I thought, oh my God, when I see, you know, Jesse Garcia on screen, I'm like, that's my dad.
Yeah.
He sounds like my tío. You know, Annie Gonzalez sounds like my mom. Like, you know, it was just like, oh, I know all those people on the screen, and I get to create a hero? Like, let's do it. And that's what Linda and I were like, let's create these heroes. And in the love letter we painted to the Mexican-American community too, where every single person that, you know, has reached out to us, every reviewer, it was like, you know, wow, the stroke that, you know, Linda, the way in which Linda wrote the gangbangers, right? It wasn't like gangbanger number 4. It was a guy who had a story and had to sell drugs because his mom had cancer. Like, there's complexity to people in our community. They're not stereotypes. They're human beings. And so when you really dig into the humanity of who we are as a community, beautiful stories unfold. And so that's, you know, important for all of us to dig deep. And I think the more specific we got, the broader the story got, right? So I think sometimes as Latinx creators, we go, you know, oh, that story's from East LA only. Oh, that's a Puerto Rican story. I don't really get it. Like, don't be afraid to dig into the specificity of that story. Write what you know. Write what you know. Do what you know. And the more specific it is, it's this magic potion of the more everybody relates to it. My big fat Greek wedding, right? Who has experienced that? You know, it's like, oh, that's me. That's my family. She was so specific, you know. In Blue Beetle with the vapor whoop, you know, with the vapor rub. Like, I was like, oh my God! Like, it was like, you know, in Flaming Hot, the shot with his fingerprint, the red Cheetos on his hand. People are like, oh my God, that's so specific, but everybody knows it. And so you're like, you know what, I think, you know, it's a superpower. Our culture, our Latinidad, it's like definitely something you should lean on and lean into.
Yeah. Yeah, there was so much of that throughout the movie. So encourage, if you have not seen it, you know, and encourage folks who are not Latinx to see it. I mean, I tell everybody about this film.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like it coming out of these labor disputes, strikes, mergers, fewer buyers. There's huge opportunity, and I think what's the result of all of this is that we're going to leave the quantity game and go back to quality game. There will always be a need for strong storytelling that moves audiences, like a lot of the stuff that we have seen over the summer. And I will say, even though studios in these moments have cut back budgets and have cut back their initiatives and their diversity programs and their diversity writers programs, their diversity director program, the marketplace will always demand diversity. And that's where we have a really leg up, is like, okay, you can get rid of these programs, but like the marketplace, specifically the global marketplace, is going to demand diversity in storytelling and diversity in point of views.
Well, I love that you're bringing that up because there is so much about who you are and what we've done that we can't necessarily get into today because of the dual strikes happening right now. But I do want you to just talk a little bit more about what's happening in Hollywood in this moment in terms of how it folds into this larger industry conversation about representation and equality.
I will say, because I know, we've had a great summer. I mean, I think there's amazing projects that have come out this year, but that doesn't, we're far from not equal representation, but we are far from being seen. And so I think the illusion is that Hollywood's very progressive, right? Oh, there's women and people of color, and blah, blah, blah. And if you look at the data, Stacey Smith, if you look at the data, it is not so. There are less Latinos in front of and behind the camera than there were a couple years ago. There are less women behind the camera than there were a couple years ago. We are going in the wrong direction. So don't let the successes of this year let you take your foot off the gas. Like, no. We have these successes, so look what worked. We can show studios and gatekeepers, look what worked. So let's do more of those. But I think sometimes, we sit back. I think there was also a report like 8 of the last 10 years, the best director went to a Mexican director, right? Alfonso Cuarón, Guillermo Iñárritu, and it was going back and forth, and they go, Latinos are doing so well, and you're like, no Latinos are in those movies,
right?
Like George Clooney is in that movie,
right?
And so it gives the illusion, Hollywood gives the illusion that we're so diverse, and especially outside of our industry. I do a lot of political activism, and when you're talking to a different industry, like, you guys are doing so well. No, we're not. We're not doing well. Stop saying that. We're not doing well. Yeah. We have to do better.
Yeah, change is starting, and it must.
I don't even know if change is starting. We're just facing the right direction now. I think people are going, oh. And I will say, like Gloria was talking about being on these picket lines and how you talk to people, and you're like, oh, there's this great conversations happening. That's what happened. It reminded me of the Time's Up movement when there was so much danger for women in the workplace. Women on sets, and I have a nudity clause, but now I'm on set in Bulgaria and I have to take my top off, or the producers harassing me. There were so many horrible stories that came out of that, but what it did was bring together this sisterhood in Hollywood, and I think the industry goes, oh shit, the women are talking. The women are talking. Somebody stop them, because we got to compare notes, and as women, specifically, we're taught that there's only room for one of us. So we don't really, that's my spot. And it's not a zero-sum game. And I think for people of color, too, it's like, well, they're only going to cast one Latino, so it's got to be me. There's only going to be one Latin show on ABC this year, so it's got to be mine. And it's like, no, there's room for everybody. Everybody. And, like, I'm the same as Gloria. If it has a Latinx person, writer, creator, crafty, whatever it is, like, I'm posting it, I'm supporting it, and that is the most painful part of this strike, is like not being able to shout from the highest rooftop the amazing work that our community is doing. And so for me, I think it's important for us to remember we're not there yet, and we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The strength in numbers, the power of voice, the power of story is part of how we're going to get there. I want to ask you about just how you're working to change that with Unbelievable, and how we get more Latinx folks to have a seat at those decision-making tables that get those stories told.
Well, I will say, too, again, going back to, like, if you're creating a story, being specific so that's broad enough to reach everybody, because I can direct something that is so amazing, and every Latino can show up, and it's still not a hit. Because even if every Latino showed up, it's not a big enough number. We need everybody to show up. We need Black, white, Asian. We need our stories to be heard for everybody and told for everybody. And that's hard. That's really hard when we're going, let's focus on getting just our community to show up. It's like, no, we got to get everybody to show up.
Right.
That's the only way we're going to be scalable. It's the only way we're going to have true success is if everybody's watching our shit. All right? Like, we watch their shit.
Right.
Why can't they watch ours? And so that's one part of that. But wait, what was the question?
No, I was just The work that you're doing, unbelievable, and how you
yes.
get more Latinx folks to the
Yes,
table.
let's talk about me. No, I will say the other thing I think that's coming out of this strike is the structure in how our industry is set up. Whether it's overhead deals, you're on one show that now only shoots 6 episodes to 8 episodes a year, and you can't do any other show. This is unsustainable for writers, for actors, directors. Like, there's not enough work to keep me off of doing other things. And I think our industry is not set up to service our ambition, right? And so I want to be agnostic. I want to have 85 shows. And I want to direct everything, and I want to be in everything, and so people are like, right, but what's the one thing you're going to do? I was like, why do I have to do one thing? You know, the writers, like, you have an overhead deal, you know, you have one show every 3 years, and then you have to staff on another show, and you're like, I want to make more. I want to make more, and so we're going to bump up against this in a way. Unbelievable what we've been doing. Is creating a new business model and really being agnostic to, you know, and I'm in a position to do that, and I get everybody's not. Like, I can say, you know, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Right? I want 10 more of me's to go, I don't want to do that. I want to do it over here. I want to do it over here. So we're trying to build those creators and support those creators, access to capital, you know, access to the gatekeepers of who makes these decisions, putting them in the right rooms. So many times I'll talk to a studio head and I'm like, do you know so-and-so? And they're like, who is that? And I'm like, they're on your network. How do you not know them?
Wow.
They're writing for you. They're writing the hit show you have. And they're like, yes, I'm sorry, yes, I do know them. And I'm like, so it's about, you know, making it louder, whatever we're doing and making it louder. And we're good at that. We're Latinos. We're really good at that. Like, we can be loud, and so that's, you know, that's the point of what I'm doing. Is like, I want to do projects that have something to say, that have cultural defining moments or topics, that are entertaining, and that have a lot of heart and humor, and like I said, that everybody wants to watch. I remember we were doing our press junket for Flaming Hot. And we were doing the International Press Day, and it was like, Germany was like, this is so good. This we don't have this Flaming Hot. And they would like try it. They're like, but we bought a bag. It's $15 in Germany. And I was like, $15 for a Flaming Hot bag?
Wow.
And then they would eat it, and they would be red, and we'd have to end the interview because they were choking. And it was like, but they didn't care. It wasn't about, did they have Flaming Hot in Germany? It was like, this journalist loved the story.
Yes.
And same thing, like, we were talking to Australian journalists, and they were like, in Australia, they were like, oh my God, what a story. And you're like, yeah, it's about good storytelling. Yes. And I really believe if you build it, they will come. I really believe that. And I know, you know, the ladies talked about like lower budgets, lower marketing dollars, that's real. That is real. And so that's what I was talking about. We have to do things twice as good and twice as cheap. And I accept that challenge. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Great, we'll do that. Do something really great, and then the next time we say we're not doing that. You know, we have to fight our way in, and we have to, you know, create a different, like I said, a different business model. So we're like, okay, how do I get my story told and make an impact and get it marketed? And it's many dysfunctional layers, I think, that we should tear down and do it a different way. And we have the demographics to do it ourselves. So we've just got to figure out, you know, how can we do that for ourselves so that people can hear our stories?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that too is the lesson in Flaming Hot. I mean, the ethos of Flaming Hot, just even having that idea, but then the work that it took to get it out, to make it, to prove that he actually had something, right? I mean, I can't imagine all of the lessons that you must have learned in that story, all the lessons that are there for people who are struggling to do exactly that, who know that they have something but just need the opportunity.
We knew when we were shooting the movie, we knew, like, we're going to make this, and we're going to have to do exactly what Richard did.
Exactly.
Like, take it in the car and hand out CDs of the movie. Like, literally, we're like, we knew we were like, I knew we were gonna make an amazing movie, and I knew we were gonna have to get behind it ourselves, and we did, and the community rallied in the biggest way, and the fact that it resonated so well, not only with everybody. But also with critics, because I was like, I don't know if critics are gonna get this. And they got it, and we were like, wow, okay, we did it. It was a proud moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, yes, I know we're not just talking about you, because it's never just about you. You are so supportive. I don't know if y'all saw, Eva was in the background while she just in the back rooting for these women who were up here in the panel before us, because that's just who you are. That's the kind of person that you are. And to that
Well,
point,
those are my girls.
I know, but
those
I mean,
are my girls. We've written many of things together. We've been in the trenches. We've been in those rooms where they've said, shocking things, and we're the only two Latinas in the room. We go, yeah, they said that. They just said that, So yeah, that's my family. Those are my family.
Absolutely. But I mean, just seriously, as a person it's because of who you are, a person that makes space for others. You are a person that wants. It's not just about your opportunity. It's not just about your opportunity.
Nothing makes me happier than supporting other people. I used to go on auditions. And I would go and audition, and then they go, okay, thank you. And I go, I'm so sorry. Have you seen Rosalind Sanchez for this role? Because she would be amazing. And I would always pitch other actors. And my agent was like, if you go in and pitch another actor one more time. And I was like, I just think she's much better for this than I am. And I don't think they know her. They should know her. I do it all the time. I just got pitched something today to direct. And I was like, who'd be really good? And they go, we're coming to you.
Right, we're offering you.
I know, but I really think so-and-so would be better. I think there's so much to do, and I think everybody, we're gonna go so much farther linking arms than the crabs in the bucket. And that's usually what we are, is the crabs in the bucket, and we can't do that anymore. It's unsustainable. We cannot do that.
Listen to Eva Longoria, don't be a crab in the bucket. Listen, but you don't.
The shirts are for sale.
Exactly. We got the merch in the back. But you don't just do this in Hollywood. I mean, we couldn't have you here at the 19th, name for the 19th Amendment, without talking about one of your other passions, which you are, where you are supporting other folks, and that is voting, right? And you do that with Poderistas, our partner for this event.
Poderistas.
Shout out to Poderistas.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes. And I mean, I think this, but I just wonder if you see your work around political engagement as really as an extension of your passion for Latinx communities, your fight to tell representative stories.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, there's no bigger tool than the media to affect change. There's so much work to be done in this country. I don't know if you guys saw CNN Searching for Mexico,
Yes.
which was really, the point of that was, Stanley called me, said, we're doing a spinoff, and they wanted to do another country, and I was like, no, we have to do Mexico, because the relationship that was damaged of the image of this beautiful country and these beautiful people, we have to repair that, because it is the most beautiful country in the world with the best food, of course.
Keller.
And I said, and I hate that the people going, Taco Tuesday, are the people screaming, build that wall, build that wall. You have to correlate the two. You don't get to say one and not the other. And so for me, that was the whole point, is like showing the beauty of Mexico. And so, I mean, it was like everybody reached out to me going, wow, I want to go to Oaxaca. Or they couldn't even say Oaxaca, but they were like, I want to go to that place with the mole. And so I think, that's why I did it. That's why I did. And so I always do things with purpose. And so I think that helps, when there's things on the ballot, that they remember something like Searching for Mexico. And they go, oh, maybe we should vote differently on this measure, on this, law that's about to pass, whatever it is. And Poderistas is doing an amazing job. We're a community for Latinas, for everything. And we really believe that Latinas are going to change this country. And we are the key to unlocking that potential, not only for ourselves, but for the betterment of our country. Like, if Latinas could just run everything, we'd be fine. And so the work that we're doing around voting is really important, and it's hard. And I know it's hard, you guys. The apathy and the disappointment in candidates, in results, it's disheartening. And you cannot let that stop you. They want you to not vote. They want you to get tired. They want you to stay home. And that we can't do that. We can't happen. And I think there's no better multipliers of change than Latinas. You know, Latinas, if we had, yesterday was National Registration Day, or 2 days ago, register a friend to vote, and so, Latinos will tell their mom, they'll bring their grandma, they'll tell their aunt, they'll bring their kid, and so I think, we are catalysts for change, and we're gonna make a big difference in this coming up election. We have to, just know that, like, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We need each and every one of you guys to show up in a big way and bring 10 other people with you, and make them do the same thing that you're doing, and I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
If we show up.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what we have seen at the 19th. As a Black woman, this is what we do, right? We get not just ourselves, our communities. People aren't thinking about themselves as traditional organizers, but they're organizing. Yeah. They're organizing their community. They're mobilizing their people, and I know the Latinos are doing that, and I know that that's what you'll be doing probably a lot next year. So I hope that we get to stay in touch and talk about the work that you're doing.
Elsa and I have a friend that was like getting married near election day next November. We were like, no, oh my God, what are you doing? We're not going to be there. We're not going to be there for like the whole month. So figure out another date. She's like, chill, Jesus. Why do I have to pick my wedding date?
That wedding date doesn't work for me.
We're like, no, doesn't work. Pick another date.
Well, I also want to ask you, because I know that when you first came to Los Angeles, Dolores Huerta was somebody that was a formative figure for you. And I just wonder if you can just tell our audience a little bit about that experience, about that relationship, about what she means to you.
Yeah, she's my mentor. I was really lucky to meet her. I wasn't famous. I'm an academic at heart. I went back to get my master's degree in Chicano studies, and see, son?
I was like, do we have some UC?
See, son, we have some matadors in the house. And I had this academic circle of just intellects, and I loved it. We would, like, every Saturday night, we'd all just gather and talk about how we want to change the world. And Dolores was there one night, and she said, she was like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm an actress. And I wasn't. I was an extra at this time. An extra stealing food. I was stealing food as well. And she was telling me about the farm worker movement, but more about the Dolores Huerta Foundation and this and that. And I kept asking her, I was like, but why is that? Why is that? And she was saying so many of the rights of the farm workers, that all the gains that we made in the 60s have all been dismantled. I mean, just totally dismantled. Things like water, shade, breaks, not even dealing with sexual harassment, human trafficking, like all the bigger issues. It's like, can you give them water? It's 118 degrees. Let's start there, right? And so we were talking a lot about this, and she said, you should read this book called Occupied America by Dr. Acuna, and it changed my life. And I was looking at the author, and I was like, oh, he's at CSUN. He's here in California. I want to go talk to him. And that's what made me get my master's. But she's like, you're going to have a voice one day, so you better have something to say. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have a voice? I didn't really know what that meant, because my goal was never to be famous. I was like, I'm going to be famous. I just wanted to work. I wanted to make a living.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create. I was like, oh, I love creating. I liked producing always. I was always a producer, and I fell into acting. So people were always surprised, like, oh, you turned actor turned producer. I was like, no, I was a producer turned actor. But she said that. She was like, think about what you want to say with your work, with your writing, with your projects, with your social media imprint. Like, think about what you want to say. What am I going to say when I'm holding the mic? Because you will have that moment in the future, so think about it.
Okay. Well, think about this. Because you say, you never can have enough to do, looking for some more stuff to do. Yeah. You've talked about possibly running for office in the past.
I've never said that.
No?
Oh.
Well, you haven't said it on this stage,
no,
so...
I've never. And let me tell you why. The illusion is you have to be a politician to be political. That is not the case. The most powerful position in our democracy is the citizen. I'd much rather be a citizen. You know what I mean? And so, yes, don't let them make you think that, oh, you're not political. There's, Poderistas did a survey, and we found that Latinas are so intimidated to go in the ballot box because they feel like you need a political science degree to look at the measures and da-da-da. And what about the judge? What if I pick the wrong judge? And I get anxiety. And we do like a 3-hour ballot thing, and we all fight and we all argue. We call people. Like there was like some measure about nurses union, and my friends in the nursing union, I called her and she's like, you have to say no. And we were like, but why? And we fight about everything and talk about it. I was like, everybody doesn't do that. You look at a ballot and you get really intimidated.
Yeah.
I get anxiety, and I'm very educated on the issues, right? Or I get educated on the issues. And so I go, oh my gosh. And we, Poderistas found like, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they're really scared, like that they're gonna make a mistake. And so I think, really lean on your community and say, hey guys, we're gonna have a ballot party. We're gonna bring our sample ballots. We're gonna go over the measures. We're gonna look at the candidates. We're gonna look at the judges. It's so fun if you're drinking, because then you really get into some arguments. You can make a drinking game out of it, but it's fun, and you really get a lot out of it. And so, no, I would never run for politics. And I don't say never. I don't mean that, because I don't say like, I don't want to encourage you not to run, because there's a lot of times, and I'm this person, I go, we need to change this. We need somebody to run. Where are they? Come on, somebody needs to run for this school board. It's messing up everything. Who is it? And then one day you look and you go, it's me. It's me. And so you should be that person for sure. You should really think about, you might be that person. I'm not that person, but I will give you money to be that person. I will donate to your campaign. Don't do what I do, but you should really think about running for office.
So for now, recruiting donors and candidates, but not ruling out possible run for office in the future. Well, listen, okay, so we're not working on a campaign. Is there anything that you are working on now that you are excited about that you want to share with us before we let you go?
There's a lot of things I'm working on I can't share yet, and I can share it like in a month, but I think it's more of the same, like just making a difference with producing with purpose, finding those projects. We have so many heroes in our community. There's a movie out about an astronaut that's pretty amazing right now. Like that's another hero. We're like, oh my God, that's another person that we should know about. When I heard about Richard's story, I was so ashamed I didn't know his story.
Same.
I was like,
Same.
how do I not know this? I'm Mexican American. This should be taught to us in classrooms. Like, this is such a good lesson. And so that's my goal, is to make sure there's I have so many amazing scripts and stories, about real people from our community that I think deserve to be told. And so working on a lot of those, working on some really, really fun stuff. But, just doing more of this. And really, it's only getting harder. And I don't want you to get discouraged, but don't think it's so easy for Eva. It's hard for me. It's going to be hard for you. It's just hard. If you wanted to be a dentist, that's probably hard too, right? Like, when you really want to do something, it's, the journey is hard, but it's worth it whenever you get there. And I still think my greatest success is ahead of me, right? Like, I refuse to believe, when people go, oh my God, you had this amazing career. I'm like, I had. Yeah,
Wow.
How old do you think I am?
Wow.
And I refuse to believe that my greatest success is behind me, right? And so it's not. I still have so much to do. Yeah. There's so much to do.
Well, we agree. So thank you so much for telling us about what you've been doing, what you're going to do. We look forward to hearing about that. So thank you so much for joining us, Eva.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.